Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Ryan Drumheller. He is a technology and business leader with more than 20 years of experience across IT leadership, cybersecurity operations, digital transformation, and executive advisory. We'll talk with him about why most AI and digital transformation projects fail, what AI readiness actually means in the real world, and what bad IT leadership costs a business financially, and why businesses underestimate operational maturity until it becomes a problem. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Ryan. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of businesses, a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about why we understand from you why AI projects fail and much more. You are an expert on this, so we'll talk about all this and more. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Sounds great. Yeah. So, I mean, my background, you kind of said it, 20 years in IT, about 13 years in leadership. I've essentially done everything under the sun that you can name or think of. And now, I'm on this journey, as a fractional CIO, advisory, doing some technical projects, helping businesses out with AI is a hot topic, and most of the business world is focused on that today. So yeah, happy to be speaking about all things AI today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brian, so you are an expert in this field with so many years of experience advising many organizations, know about the ins and outs of this field. Generally, when we talk of AI projects in today's time, we generally think, it's all plug and play. Organizations have to, people talk about agentic AI and all those things. Just plug into something and it will start playing within your organizations. So the fact about or the talk about AI projects failing actually, doesn't seem to be so digestible for a lot of people. Not everyone is an expert. Even smaller businesses, they would still want to understand what does this AI project failure mean. Help us understand from that particular sort, so that people, small businesses all across the world, anyone from in the US to Nigeria to Kenya to my country, can understand about this failure and be ready for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I need to look this up. The last time I took a look at it a couple of weeks ago, it was over 80% of projects were failing still. And quite crazily, most of this is around the human part of AI. It doesn't even really have much to do with the tooling itself. It has everything to do with kind of what you alluded to, the misconceptions about that you can just plug AI in, set it and forget it, and walk away with it and let it do its thing. And that's just not it's not the case. Most of the time I come into situations and some of my first questions are why. Why do you want AI? What are the things you've identified of your own businesses that you want to do with AI? And we tend to find ourselves running before we're crawling and walking in a lot of cases. So I typically take a company back to the project planning stage. Let's figure out, identify what things in the business that we can get quick wins out of, right? What's the data driven pieces? What's the really manual things that we can make, automated? What's the things that we really don't want humans hitting the same button, 50,000 times a day, or whatever that case may be, that we can have them better suited to do something else that benefits the business. instead of that piece. And we make a plan on that, and then we target a longer term plan to figure out where we would like to go in that particular business. And then we go through the steps, and it's a slower process, and then they're surprised because I try to slow it down before we speed it up. Because we need to come out of this with a proper project plan, a proper governance plan, a security plan, a training plan, and all of this, encompasses adoption at the end of the day, and AI readiness and all the terms that you're hearing. And unless you do those pieces and slow it down and identify it, you are likely to end up being one of the 80% and not one of the 20%. And as a small to medium business, that's crucial. They don't have all the money to invest like the bigger companies do to just throw away. They need to get it right the first time.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ryan. Let me understand it this way for my audience. Is it about bad AI leadership, IT leadership, or is it this project failure about AI readiness? Are two the same things or are two different things? Which one comes first that one should be include in their organization? Which can come later?
Yeah, I think both make up that number. Which percentage, is dependent on, which business and how they went about it. I think probably the thing that you really want, if you could only have one over the other, is you want to have good leadership first, because a good leader would identify that maybe your business isn't ready yet. And acknowledge that out of the gate, and start working on the business readiness for AI adoption. Now, AI adoption is absolutely critical as well, but a good leader would be able to identify those things first.
Absolutely. So, good leader is an important factor here. But you see, with the speed of AI implementation, with the speed with which AI is coming into everyone's lives, including organizations, and every day there is certain, the amount of change is much higher than organizations can actually be ready and then get that AI into their systems, technology into their systems. So, should we blame the leader about it? Even a competent leader cannot or will find it difficult to fight the dynamism of the AI industry, technology industry, with which it wants to get into organizations' lives, our lives. Help us understand from that perspective. How would I know it is about IT leadership failure, or is it about that they tried their best, but the speed of change was very fast?
Yeah, the speed of change is definitely a crucial factor. That'd be another common thing that I see, is that, typically, like you've alluded to, businesses work a bit slower than what AI is doing today. It's quite a bit faster. It's one of the fastest, change factors that we're seeing out there. And from a leader's aspect, we absolutely see, some of those leaders, fail, as they're trying. They're not trying to do a bad job. They're maybe not even a bad leader. It's that the speed of what's coming down, the decisions that might be made above them that are being kind of forced upon them, right? We hear a lot of these stories right now. If you open up any of those bad disaster articles that we're seeing out there, and it was just kind of the speed of a board, speed of the CEO, speed of whoever from the top down forcing some of these things. And instead of taking a wider look and going, okay, maybe we should ask for what can we use AI for in our business, and start there. And that's a bit slower. And a lot of these, bigger titles, boards, all of these, individuals are worried about speed. They're kind of compounding the speed factor by forcing those decisions quicker. And yeah, it does kind of put those leaders that we're talking about in almost an impossible situation sometimes.
Absolutely, absolutely right. Let me again understand this way for my audience. AI has been is very recent, since 20 end of 2022, when it got launched for the general public's understanding. Though internally people know AI in a different form. So how will you get very competent leaders in AI when it's just very recent? Second thing is that you may have technology leaders, but is technology the same as AI? Because AI is a very different sort of a animal altogether. And not every technology leader may be knowing AI in the same depth that which with which it is coming at all of us. Help us understand that what does a good technology leadership look like in today's time.
Yeah, AI is causing all kinds of questions. And the truth is, we're still in very much in an experimentation phase. And we're seeing the bigger companies kind of drive that with their investment. And, that's why that project failure number is kind of inflated, so to speak, because we're very much trying to figure out what to do with it. What kind of things can we get more automated? How far can we take this? How many people do we need per teams? Like all of these things are all in experimentation. So it makes it a lot tougher when we're talking about the smaller to mid-sized companies and technology leadership, because we're kind of writing the book as we're doing it here. So when it comes to technology leaders, the biggest thing with AI right now is I think businesses are figuring out that should it even be a technology decision? Is AI, like to your point, is it technology or is it business driven? And right now, we don't really see a lot of companies with line items for AI yet. We see it more of an experimentation where we're just trying things out. And I think what we're going to see going forward is somebody's going to own AI. They're going to own the budget that is tied to that. And that might not be a technical person. It could be a business driven person. It could be a COO. It could be anybody up that business side of food chain. It may not be technical. The technical individuals might partner with the business. And I think the businesses that'll figure that out are the ones that adopt an AI governance strategy with a bunch of technical and business leaders across the entire business and figure out where this fits for their business and make that determination.
Absolutely. So, in this backdrop, what is AI readiness all about? How should an organization get AI ready when the AI itself is evolving so fast? You get ready for something which will become, obsolete by the time you get ready. How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, AI readiness really comes back to that particular business. That business needs to make sure that they have some of the pillars set up, aka like they need to make sure that they have a governance committee ready to go. They have the leaders, that are forming those committees, that have the places where employees can come to and go ahead and pitch their ideas. They can let them know what's actually happening in their businesses from a ground floor perspective, and then those business and technology leaders are able then to put plans around that. They're able to determine which projects to move forward. They have quicker conversations with those employees, so those employees come out of it better understood. They're not questioning why AI or AI might take my job or any of these things, because they're having those conversations earlier. And then they're able to get their hands around that and be able to launch projects that seem more successful based off what they're hearing with those particular plans. So, and coming out of that, another critical factor is data. How is your data set up? How is it structured? Is it clean? Do you have that ready to go? Because once you start dumping that into AI models, if you're putting bad data in, you probably heard this a lot, you're going to get bad data out. I like to compare it to mud. You don't want to take a glass of mud a drink, a glass of mud, right? You want a glass of water. Well, how many glasses of water does it take to turn the mud back into water? And that's what you don't want to have happen out of the gate with AI. So getting all of those factors ready, and let's not forget about the speed of change. that's the other critical thing we've kind of mentioned here. You need to be quick on the horn to be able to make those decisions. So AI readiness kind of encompasses all of those pieces there, and being able to adopt them for your business, for your employees, and for their acceptance rate and how they like to absorb new changes.
Absolutely, Ryan. So the other part of the story is that many organizations who want to adopt and adapt to this whole AI and technology thing as quickly as possible, but the problem is that their organizations themselves are not strategically or culturally aligned first, and that can be that is also another problem. It's like both ways you are into problem. How do you solve that problem as a leader, as a competent leader?
It's way worse to just throw AI out there with no strategy, and I see it all the time. I hear it from other individuals in other industries working, outside of the businesses that I'm even working with. I have friends and family that are like, "Hey, we bought this AI tool and they told us to use it," and nobody has any clue what they're doing in their job, and in a lot of cases, it's doubled their workload or inflated numbers that aren't real. So having no strategy, or your strategy just being, "Hey, we got AI and we threw it out there," it's not going to lead you to good. It's not going to lead you to the ROI that you want to see. It's only going to end up being a failure, and you're going to prolong this by making mandates, making KPIs, forcing employees to use something with absolutely no reason why they're doing that or any plan to do that.
Absolutely. So when do you come into the picture, Ryan? What is it that companies normally ask your advice for? How do you help them amidst all these things in that backdrop?
Yeah, I mean it's a mix. Most of the companies are essentially how do we do AI? We don't even know where to start, and that's actually the best part of any of those companies because we can get it right from the get go. And then there's companies that have tried and they've already done some things, and that's harder because depending on what they've done we might now have to work a plan on how to fix some of the damage, right? Some of the bad data in, some of the bad governance, some of those bad strategy plans where now their employees maybe don't really believe the leaders or the strategy or anything. So then we have to work a new plan in. So it's typically anywhere along those paths to essentially getting AI set up from an adoption standpoint, from a governance standpoint, to we've already launched some things and it's not working and we don't understand why. And I have to kind of go in and untangle and kind of walk them through that and show them that there's still a path to success here. But this is why some of these pieces are going to be important to do. And we'll have to admit, that we did something and we had, some failure or whatever that is to get some goodwill back from the employees. So it's always an interesting engagement, and it's always something different, but it typically is along those lines.
Absolutely. Let's understand it. Some people, might want to understand it from this point of view is that there was this time of automation. Everyone was talking about automation, more automation, and automation. Still, a lot of people, a lot of organizations, founders, they thought we will automate only what is required, the rest will stay human. Even today, a lot of people are talking about being human, keeping things human as much as possible, AI where only it is required. Do you think it is going to be the same? AI will just be another passing phase, it will just remain a tool, and that some people will say there is a lot of hype around it. It's almost like a bubble, especially in the backdrop of some of these $1 trillion IPOs that we can come about. And whenever IPOs come, there is a lot of noise, there is a lot of hype. Do you think this will all change after those IPOs are launched and things will start settling down?
It's interesting that you asked me this. I just read about some of the IPOs last night and the interesting decisions around that because they're announcing the IPOs obviously from a monetary standpoint and some of the hype, but they're not trying to forward them very quickly. A matter of fact, a couple of the articles were saying that they're purposely delaying it because they still have things that they want to do, and it's going to be much easier to do that not being as a part of the IPO. So it's interesting. I do think that there's going to be a bubble with AI as there is with everything else, because eventually we're going to get to a point where we're kind of caught up, or we're to the point where maybe this is as far as AI can go right now. I still think that there's evolutions coming with AI for sure. We haven't seen the best and worst of AI completely yet. But most of those bad decisions right now, it's not necessarily AI. It's the humans making those decisions. The AI is a tool at the end of the day, and what we choose to do with it as a human being is up to the humans at the end of the day. It's not AI forcing us to do something incredibly bad with AI. We have to figure out what AI can really do inside of our businesses, and then apply that for good, not just throwing it out there, not trying to cut entire teams and departments. Like that, all of those stories have ended badly so far. So I do think that we're getting to a point where there'll be a bubble, and there will be a more normalness around here's what everyday life with AI is like. I think we're still in the experimentation phase. I think that some of those companies talking about IPOs aren't truthful necessarily in all of their media right now. But any of us who are actually using AI, especially day to day, it has to be driven by a human, and the more creative the human, the more creative the AI. So the AI is not creative without the human.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sure there is a lot to watch out in this space, especially these IPOs, and then we will see where we all stand. Be that as it may, there is so much to learn about all this from you, Ryan, and I'm sure a lot of businesses, a lot of individuals, a lot of companies would want to connect with you, learn more about you, learn more about what you are doing, how they can be your client. What's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I post multiple times a day. I help mentor others. I'm always commenting on somebody's post to try to help them out. You can find me at stellarhorn.com. That's my business site, and all my services and all the goodness that I talk about is listed there. And then I also host the Decline Invite podcast, where we talk about business and technology situations like we've talked about today with a lot of other industry CEOs, high level positions, and what's actually happening inside of their businesses and the challenges that we're seeing. So if you like any of these kinds of convos, we would be happy to have you over there to listen.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you.